hope you guys doing well. I wanted to cover really quickly and answer this question: what are the possible ways to create objects in JavaScript? Now, to cover this, let's get started. We're going to have 5 ways that I'm going to cover. I'm going to cover literal syntax, object constructor, function constructor via the prototypes, and ECX syntactic sugar. As you know, JavaScript is not an object-based language, so which means there's a way that you can go around to create objects. So let's start with the literal syntax. We'll create here an object by the name of person, and we're going to give it curly braces, empty curly braces, and then I'm just going to console.log that. That should give you an empty object. So now let's start adding properties to this. So we're going to say the first name is going to be Milton, the name of the person, and Milton is aged 27, and then we need to greet Milton. So then add a function called greet, and this function is then going to say it's going to return a greeting, and I'm going to use template literal to greet. So I'll then say hello, let's say hello what, hello name. So we need the name here, hello this. Now you might be asking, why am I putting on this? This is referring to the name of the object that I'm going to instantiate. So then we then say hello whatever name you can you say age years old, like that. Alright, so this object is already in existence. If I then say console.log name, here at the bottom I should be able to see the name being printed. If I then say age, I should see the age 27 printed at the bottom. Look at on my right side at the bottom. Now let's see if we can call the function greet. All right. Okay, I made a mistake of not using this on edge. Let's see now, which is referring to the object. So then there you go. So this is one way that you can create objects in JavaScript. Let's move on to the new another method. We're going to use the object constructor. So we're going to declare another object here, and we're going to say new object, just like that. And then now not person, it's person. There you go. And then we're going to say person1, and then I'm just going to copy all of this, and then now put it down here, and then I'll just add one here, one here, one here. Instead of Milton, I'm going to add Ruth. Ruth is 30. So then that should be greeting Ruth now. Let's see if I made a mistake here. No, here I need to put a dot notation. Now that should work fine. In fact, to make it less confusing, let me just comment out the earlier method. Alright, so person1. There you go. So we have used the object constructor, and this is, if you look on the right at the bottom, you see that you have hello Ruth, your age is 30 years old. Now let's clear the console and move on to the next one. The next one is going to be, we're going to be using the function constructor. So let's declare a basic function, then we're going to call it user, and this function is going to take two parameters, age and it's going to take age and name. Then this dot name is equals to name, then this dot age is equals to age, and then we're going to have this dot greet is going to be a function. It doesn't take parameters, and then we're going to then it's going to then return the greeting as we did earlier on, just like that. Now this function, we have now to create an instance of this class. We then say const user 1 is equals to new, then user, like that. Then we pass to it the user that we want. We want John, then the age, John is going to be 45, just like that. So now we then say console.log, let's call it user, let's call user 1 here. Let's see what we're going to see. So then here's our object. Our object is right here. So now let's call the greet function. Yes, and here's the greet function with hello John, hello John, you're 45 years old. I made a spelling mistake here, but anyway, I'm not here for spellings. I'm just here to show how this works. So now, rather than doing this way, now when we're dealing with the function constructor using the prototypes, I'm going to make a quick video about prototypes. Hopefully you guys will be able to see it. Prototypes are basically a mechanism within JavaScript that allows for objects to share properties. Now, since JavaScript is not an object-based language, the way that you can then pass information around is to have a central place or a central store. Think of it as a store that has all the goods that you're looking for. So if you pass those goods in that store, then it will be easy for you to use it where else that you want to use it, rather than having each object to have a particular property. You can then share, all the objects can use that property share coming from the prototype. So let's declare a function. Let's call it what do we call the other one? User. Let's call this one user. This one I'm gonna call it user A. 1A. This one I'm gonna call it user 2. And then it's gonna receive a name, and it's gonna receive an age. And then within here, I'm going to then use this name, which is referring to this object, this dot age, right? So now, instead of embedding my function within my greet function within this function that I'm creating, I'm going to then basically store this function in a central place where all the other objects can actually use it. I'm not going to embed it within each object that is going to be created. This is trying to keep my code as clean as possible. So this is what user2 dot prototype dot greet. Now greet is going to be a function. Now this function, what does it do? I want it to return the greeting, and in this case, let's do this. The same story. You are okay. So now let's create const user 2a is equal to new, and say user 2. Then we have to pass it now the names. So we're gonna pass here Adam. Then Adam is how many years old? Let's put Adam at 35. Now let's console.log and see user 2a, like that. So that should show us the object that we're dealing with here. So the object that we have is Adam, and the age is 35. Now Adam, as you can see, doesn't necessarily have a function to greet embedded within him, but rather we have prototypes. Now if you look through the prototypes, the function that we have here is greet. Now I'm actually just thinking, as you can see, how prototype works. So now let's that's another way that you can what was the question again? That's another way that you can create objects in JavaScript. So now let's go to the last one. The last one is going to be the ES6 syntactic sugar. And to drive this point across, we're going to create user 3. It's going to be our class, and then user 3 is going to have a constructor function. And this constructor function is going to take a name and an age, and then we're going to assign these dot name to this object that we're dealing with. This dot age is equals to age. Here I made a mistake, it's not supposed to be. Now we have a constructor function in place. Let's put our greet function in place here, and this greet function is going to return the same thing that we've been doing here, just like that. So now let's create an instance of this object, not to console it, sorry. Then we're going to create user 3a is equals to new user 3, and then we're going to pass it now the name that we're going to do with. In this case, we're going to do with Isaac. And how old is Isaac? Let's say Isaac is 38, just like that. Then we console.log user 3a. So that should then show us the object that we're dealing with. As you can see, we have Isaac here, 38, and as follows. Now if we check in the prototype, we also have greet in there. So I'm going to make a quick video about prototypes, but this is basically the way that you can declare objects in JavaScript. So what have we covered? We have covered literal syntax, then we covered object constructor, we've covered function constructor, then we also covered function constructor via the prototype, and then the last one that I covered here is the ECX, let's call it syntactic sugar. So that's cool. What I can do is that I can attach this example in and then you can maybe have a look at it in on your spare time if you want. That's all. Cheers.